Hi, welcome everybody. Welcome to LibraryCon and everybody. Welcome to the Relationships and Romance panel. My name's Roxanne Feldman. I'm a high school librarian at New York City's Dalton School, and I'll be your moderator. In this session, we will talk with three authors who explore various human emotions and relationship conundrums. I can't wait to have this conversation with them. I hope you are as excited as I am. Our three panelists are Chandrama Anderson, who is a licensed psychotherapist, specializes in couples counseling, and has given us the book I Do, I Don't, How to Build a Better Marriage. It's a really practical guidebook on building stronger marital relationships. Our second panelist is Ingrid Ochoa, whose webtoon YA graphic novel, The Kiss Bet, explores teen crushes and friendships in a very humorous and lighthearted way. And then we have Ren Straps. Her How Could You utilizes colors, movements, expressive words, and pictures to tell a fairly complex web of romance in college years. So now let's welcome Chandrama Anderson, author of I Do, I Don't, by Soaring Penguin Press.
Thank
And
you. It's wonderful to be here.
yeah, thank you. And we'll welcome Ingrid Ochoa, The Kiss Bed, Webtoon
Ooh.
Unscrolled,
Hi, nice to meet you.
and Ren Strapp, How Could You, Ani Press.
Hi.
We see each other again. We just saw each other like so we're going to jump straight in, okay, about the three books. The relationships and emotions are like completely intertwined. So I think it'll be really fun for us to start our discussion to discuss some of the emotions that are actually present and shared in all three books. So the three emotions that I'm thinking of that's present in all three, there's a lot of stuff about embarrassment, how people feel embarrassed. Either they hide something so they don't embarrass themselves, or they embarrass themselves and then they feel very regretful afterwards, or embarrassment prevents them from some sort of authentic relationship. We're also thinking about anxiety around relationships, and also finally the loneliness or the desire to be needed or wanted. So all these three emotions, if you can want to address one or all of them in your books, that would be great. I'm just curious about your interpretation and why do you express and explore these areas. But we don't have anything rehearsed, so anybody can jump in.
For me, I think it comes very natural because I feel like I embarrass easily or I'm get lonely easily. Just those things are very when I write things that I've kind of experienced, and I feel like those things are very relatable because I feel like we've all experienced those things. So yeah, feeling embarrassed about situations or awkward or things like that. Like my story starts at the very beginning with like a very embarrassing situation where my main character does a bet with her best friend and says, "Oh, I bet you wouldn't like ask to kiss that random guy in the subway." And then like, a whole embarrassing situation happens. And I'm like, I feel like we've not all been in exactly through something like that, but with our friends, things like that just naturally happen. So yeah, it's just natural things that the human experience life. Yes.
And there's a
And
sequence of embarrassment throughout your book as well.
yeah, and your book takes place in high school, and I feel like that's when like even the slightest thing could be so catastrophically embarrassing because you're high school students.
Yeah, everything is embarrassing in high school.
Yeah.
Chandrama.
I think in I Do, I Don't, even for a couple to go to therapy is embarrassing. There's a lot of stigma. And frankly, there's nothing really lonelier than being lonely in a relationship. And human brains are wired to be in relationship. And so to be lonely or to feel alone, especially in the midst of a relationship, is really hard. But the truth is, people really feel, all of us feel the gamut of feelings and anxiety and embarrassment. We don't meet up to our own expectations, things like that.
Mm-hmm. And Ren, like in your book, what do you feel like is like the major emotional strand that you really want to explore?
For How Could You, the characters are all in undergrad. Their ages are like 18 to 21. So I think the major themes that I was exploring with these characters is just how difficult it can be to process these like new adult feelings, and being honest with yourself about, do you have feelings for your friend? Do you know, are you jealous? Are you lonely? And like when you make these actions that are selfish, what part of you are you protecting? It's very hard to like be upfront with yourself when you're this age, because you've never encountered these feelings before. And you're supposed to be an adult, you're supposed to have it all together. So you can't be honest. So I think that's a little bit of the anxiety for sure, is like, I'm supposed to have it all together. I turned 18, you know? So.
I remember reading, especially Ren's book, because I read Chandrama's book first, and I started reading your book, and I was like, I'm trying to apply all the techniques
Yes.
that I saw in Chandrama's book, and I say, oh, you can just like try to like take deep breath, go to the green zone before you like talk to each other, right? Or like stop doing content, you know, do process, you know. It was really fun to.
Well, and I read Chandrama's book, and I was like, I think while making How Could You, I had this idea, because my younger siblings are this age, and people who are my peers and colleagues, they're also like young adults. And so it was kind of like, to myself and also to my peers who are younger, I was like, hey, it's hard out there. It'll get easier. And I was reading Chandrama's book, which is like adults in therapy trying to process these emotions. I'm like, oh, it doesn't just naturally get easier. Like you have to go to therapy, you have to like work it out, like when it comes to relationships and communication and conflict. So it was a really good reminder, honestly, that it's not just like, there's no magic switch. When you turn 25, it gets easier. When you turn 30, it gets easier. Like you have to put in the work.
Yeah, I loved our 3 books sequence. I feel like we have things that happen in high school, and then we go to college, and then we become like adult, married adults. So these 3 books, like I think read together is like really good sequential reading in some ways, right? To see like what can be resolved as you mature, and what are the things that you still need to work at. So Chandra, do you want to talk a little bit even more about like how do we deal, like process emotions as you know, human beings?
Well, I just want to say that I think my book is like from 16 years old and up. So I really would love to see this used in schools, you know, high schools and college, and really help people get some of these things under their belt on the early side. I had to learn all these hard things more in my 40s. So anybody who starts younger, I'm happy for you. I just wanted to mention also, I did not do the art for my book, and my artist is named Nur Lafarji Latip, and he is now 29 years old. He lives in the Philippines. It's just been an amazing collaboration with him, and I am brand new to comics as of age 60, 4 years ago, and just working with him, and the littlest thing I would write, he would, I mean, the facial expressions and the body language he gets in the characters is just phenomenal. So, you know, my goal really deep down from my own core wound is that if adults have healthier relationships, fewer children will be abandoned, because those relationships will be healthier and they'll stay, even if not together, they'll at least be able to co-parent in a healthy way. And so all the tools in the book are for every age.
And
so
sorry.
Go ahead.
No, keep going.
It's just been amazing, because I knew the tools that I wanted to share, but I had no idea who these characters were. But they showed themselves quickly, and I don't know if if Ren or Ingrid, that happens for you, but I have read about artists and authors where the character just shows up and tells their own story. So I know all the tools inside and out, and then the characters just came out the way they came out. When I wrote chapter 4, I had no idea they were going to have this huge fight, and I was like, ugh. Okay, this is a comic. It's okay. You're okay. But all the feelings that we have can be really confusing. They can be really telling. But when we get stuck in you said, we don't get anywhere. We have to understand what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. You say, like it talks about so much of your all three books is about communication and miscommunication and some sort of poorly communicated emotions or ideas. So can you talk a little bit about like maybe one incident in the book that is you're addressing communication or miscommunication? Is there anything that jump out to you? I know like Ben and Grace in your book, Chandrama, is really so much about communication, right? And I also notice that there's a lot of misunderstanding in all three books. So does anybody want to talk a little bit about the miscommunication?
I guess with my picture up, I'll just speak briefly and then let the others jump in. But my book has a put it into practice section at the end of each chapter. So it's a little bit of a review. And then people can download a free workbook that goes along with the book. So the idea is not to just look through, but it's to actually work every day and work hard. And, you know, we get to choose every day how we talk to ourselves, how we talk to our friends, how we talk to our partner. And it really makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah. And I'm just really curious. I actually have a question for Chandrama. Why did you create, like you just mentioned a little bit, Ben and Grace, right, as two characters? Like, why did you decide to have these two characters in your book? And I know you say you want it to be a book for 16 and up, and you have them as a kind of not that long ago married couple, right? So what do you wish to achieve with this graphic novel style of presentation?
So when I got the idea to write this book, I looked on Amazon. There's over 70,000 couples books. And I was like, whoa, what am I going to do to make my book stand out? And this is where the graphic novel idea came from. I think when people look at the book and they look at the characters, they can recognize those feelings on their face or in their body or in their spirit. And so it really brings it alive in a way that 300 pages of text for a self-help book really can't do.
I think one of the things that really stood out to me about your book was how you have like the main couple, they have the internal monologue or echoes of their parents. Like if they're having an argument and they are feeling an emotion, and then you have a relayed like their mom's head and she's saying something snarky. And I think that visual representation was really like I don't know, like it was very powerful and like I feel like helpful in like identifying like, oh, the next time I'm like having an argument and I like can I like visualize like, okay, who's actually saying this, you know? So that was really, I thought that was very striking.
That
And,
was the sorry, Ingrid, go ahead.
oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, well, I wasn't gonna say anything, but
Okay.
I can. Yeah, I was just looking through that panel that you put up. I really love that it explains what is happening in like the chapter, like learning from it, because the way that I write, I mean, I'm a storyteller and I write figuring out, like you said, the story. And I wish a lot of times I understood why things are happening, but as I write them, I don't know like why things are happening and like how to fix it. And I feel like as I'm writing the story, I start discovering like, okay, this is the way that we can fix like Oh yeah, communication. Yeah, we need them to communicate. That's why these problems are happening to them, you know? And so I feel like as I'm writing it, I'm kind of learning it. If that
And
makes
I
any
also
sense.
found Chandrama's book is, I feel I'm grateful for the generosity of something that can, it's your expertise, and then you share it with so many people out there. Um, I have actually a quick question. Like, do you feel like people can just read your book and like solve their relationship problem, or do you feel like if people really have relationship problems, they still should seek like some expert help?
You know, it really depends. You know, a lot of people won't go to therapy. A lot of people can't afford therapy or they can't get there. So, you know, if you can find a good therapist, of course, I think that's a good idea. But the idea is that the book is standalone, and if you really are committed to yourself and working on yourself, because that's the only person you can change, then just,
Yeah.
but you got to work on it every day. And when you screw up, it's like, yeah, so I screwed up and I'm going to do better the next time. But, you know, that's part of the embarrassment. I really liked both of Ren and Ingrid's books because they're so relatable. I mean, I haven't been in high school for almost 50 years, but you know, there I was. I'm like, oh my gosh, you just nailed it completely. And I think that's really helpful for people because it normalizes what they're going through and the struggles and the self-talk. So I thought your books were really powerful. And I know you have this slide to pull up, Roxanne, but and I'm sorry I forgot her name, the main character, but when she's got all the math problems around her head and her eyes are, you know, in spirals, I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
we're
I
going
know
to
that
get
one.
to that later. That's
You know,
really, yeah. So I'm going to pivot a little bit. So I'm going to talk to Ren a little bit. And you guys can jump in if you want to talk about her book and her artwork and all that. So I'm um really I feel like the book is very strong because it's very emotional, right? The relationships are really complex, and the reasons of everybody's, I feel like there's a lot of hidden motives that the characters don't even know that they were doing something, and then they later on kind of, oh, it's because I feel this way or that way. And your book has a lot of motion and like movements and a lot of different color palette changes. So if we can show at that the page after Molly confessed to Lou and ran out of their apartment, there's one page that I just want to like show on the screen. These two are from two different like parts of the book, but I want to talk both about like you can see this is from the same book, and you're breaking panels, right? You are using different colors, you're using motions, different perspectives. There's so much going on from a artistic perspective. So can you talk a little bit about like presenting emotions and relationships using your art?
Yeah.
And yeah.
So one of the things that I did when I set out to color this series was kind of assigning each character a color, and also assigning each color a feeling. So there's blue, obviously, for characters being sad, and Molly, the main character, who is the most heartbroken she's ever been in her whole life over a girl that she has not dated that long, who broke up with her over email for a study abroad semester. She is mostly blue and shown in shades of blue. And then Yona, who is more of a romantic sweetheart girl, she's shown in shades of pink. And then I try to use these in multiple different ways to like convey that feeling. So in this panel, there's a lot of colors going on because this is like right at the peak of like Molly has confessed to Lou, like she really messed up big time. She broke Lou's trust. That's her best friend. And it is the end of a spring semester, which is full of irises and tulips and plum blossoms. And it's also extremely melancholy. Like, I think that you might think, oh, flowers, very beautiful, very, very lovely. I'm happy to see the flowers. But in school, I've always felt like spring semester is like It's so sad. Everyone's leaving. People are graduating. Even if you're not graduating, you're not seeing your friends for 3 months. So I kind of always had this vision of like these bright, lurid, floral colors. It's humid, it's fragrant, and you're just so sad. And the feelings just come crashing down all over you. You're angry, you're sad, you know. So that's kind of the inspiration for that one as well. And I think that that tiny little panel where she's like running through the crowd of other characters, bystanders, they're having a normal spring semester, but not her. Uh, and so she kind of contrasts with them in that way.
Yeah, and I'm really appreciating all the insights. I really enjoy reading your books, and kind of their twists and turns that you don't quite expect how everything turned out. So I really I invite all the audience members, if you can like get hold of this book. I really read about all their relationship, because you really kind of don't know how things are going to pan out.
Yeah.
And we can stop the screen sharing. That would be great. So can we move on to Ingrid? Or does either of you want to talk more about Rand's book, or can we go on to just a little bit about Ingrid's book for now? We can go on. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether this is like fair to say. I was like comparing the kiss bed to like K-drama because there's a lot of coincidences, right? There's a lot of embarrassment. It's even though it's a kiss bed, it's very chaste, right? Like the relationships are very, very clean, right? And there are a lot of crushes, and there are like prominent tropes in K-drama. Can you talk a little bit about like, is that a fair comparison? And where do you draw your like inspiration to create something? It's like slight manga-esque. Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about
Yeah.
that?
I mean, I watch a lot of K-dramas, so I'm sure it transferred into my work naturally. I read a lot of mangas, Japanese mangas or manhwas, Koreans. So yeah, I grew up watching all of that stuff. So I think it's fair to make the comparison. I always in my head imagined it a little bit like it could be a K-drama, but a lot of the experiences. I mean, I'm from Mexico, so I don't really know where my story is based. I lived in Taiwan at the time that I was thinking of the story. Yeah, I
I
lived there
I
for
hope.
yeah. Oh, really? I lived there for 2 years. And so I think I also got a lot of inspiration from living there and things like that. So people ask me all the time, where is your book based? Is it Asia? Is it America? Is it Mexico? But I'm like, imaginary world where all three exist. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like I've talked to a lot of friends who are, just a lot of my friends who love K-drama. And I always say, but K-drama is so illogical. And there's so many coincidences that usually, if you study like Western literary criticism, those are things, they're like no-nos, right? We tell the kids like something's too coincidental, then it doesn't make sense. The kids always say, oh, that is like too coincidental. But for some reason in K-drama or like manga, it's wildly accepted. I wonder why, like emotionally, why do we need, coincidences and things that work out even though they shouldn't work out? So I wonder
Yeah.
about the emotional need there. Anybody wants to jump in about that?
It almost feels like a fairy tale. Like you said, like I totally agree. Like in Western literature, it's kind of like, oh, don't put too many coincidences in your stories, except for fairy tales and like acts of God. And I feel like manga and K-dramas and things like that have a lot of acts of God and a lot of coincidences that like kind of propel the plot forward. And it's like a fairy tale. It's like a princess story.
A lot of
Yeah.
things. And I
I
guess
mean, oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, I think there's a reason why K-dramas or like those kinds of stories are popping up. How do you say that in English? Like they're
yeah,
very popular
trendy.
in the US or like America. I think I mean, some of the tropes are just super overdone, but I still want to watch it. I still want to like see that situation happening with these characters, and And also, life is sometimes just kind of boring, and you just want to see that happening in the story. You know, you know what's gonna happen, but it's still, I mean, for me at least, I still want to see it.
You get to live emotionally with the characters,
Mhm.
right? And that gives us a chance to play through different emotions for ourselves too.
Yeah, I know that right now there is a big trend of people really enjoy something like cozy mystery or cozy horror or cozy fantasy. Is that you want a good ending, you want a happy ending, no matter how difficult the journey is, you want something that winds up, working out for the characters. Another thing, Ingrid, in your book, like I saw a lot of humor. So can you talk a little bit about it? There's like exactly what Chandrama was talking about earlier, that little panel, it's like almost a full page, right? It's a whole full page where she's being tutored in a very embarrassed way. So can we show the screenshot? Yeah. And this is just one of many examples, and I really want to draw attention to that the lower left. What she just doesn't understand calculus, right? So what she's hearing is that purple potatoes equal X, but Y equals turkey leg. Sarah Lynn, like she's not paying attention. So can you talk a little bit about like humor? Does it come to you easily? Does it become something that's like you have to work at it? Can you just talk a little bit about it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really think much about it. It just comes very naturally. I think that's just my personality. I just find a funny situation and everything and like try to make it light, not like super dramatic. Even when I have like really dramatic scenes, it's feels more comforting to not make it super harsh, but just like add a little bit of humor. Like I said, I don't really think much about it. It just kind of happens. And in this scene, I mean, anybody who struggles with math, this is a very personal experience to me that I went through a lot of this, like many touring sessions where I'd be like, what the heck are you talking about? So yeah.
Yeah, I did not take math after sophomore year of high school. I got my college credit and I never took math again. I think what I was really impressed by reading your book is that the way that you are so in tune with the high school experience and you're able to just like put you right back in there. Like I haven't been out of school for that long, but long enough that I couldn't come up with like, oh yeah, remember how hard it is for calculus? But like you put me back in there. So I thought that that was really impressive. And I was wondering if like there was anything that you're inspired by that you're so like closely connected with that high school experience. Or if there's like, do you have just like younger cousins in your life that you're just like, oh yeah, high school?
I mean, I think I don't know if it's because I was a little bit too traumatized by high school, or I just still very vividly remember a lot of those experiences. It was also, I think, the funnest time of my life, you know. Even though I just hated school and studying, that aspect of it, it just was not my favorite. There were some classes that I really loved, but then things like this, I was like, just
But
not
also
ready
in your
to
book,
do that.
like the father is calling her friend Bonbon when her name is actually Lulu,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Lulu is like doing fortune telling in a broken like bathroom stall in the school. It was like so hilarious. So I want people to make sure that you also get Ingrid's book and read it. It's definitely something that's enjoyable. But I don't know whether I got your whole book or is that to be continued.
Uh it's the first volume, yeah.
Because I was like, I want to know what happens, and it
Yeah.
so
I mean,
just a friendly warning, right? Like the
it
book,
is,
the story didn't end.
yeah, it is online, so you can read it at WEBTOON because it's a
Oh, good. So you
comic,
can.
but if you want the physical copy, there's
Okay.
only volume 1 coming
So
out.
there is actually an ending for this story because I'm dying to know. Like,
Oh, not quite yet. I'm still it's ongoing. I'm
okay,
still
as
really
a
writing.
as a manga lover who has PTSD of my favorite manga. After 40 years, it still didn't have it. The author decided to stop writing it.
Oh no.
That they're just not going to end it.
What
So,
manga?
Glasu no Comment,
Oh, mhm.
1,000 Masks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It just didn't end. Okay, we got into tangent. I want to back a little bit because we only have a few minutes left. One thing is about humor, right? Like humor is an emotion. So I actually want to come back to Chandrama as a psychoanalyst who do a lot of therapy sessions. What do you consider like the role of humor in relationship or just for humans?
Well, I can tell you one of my favorite parts of day is in the evening when my husband and I have laugh time together. That's what we call it. And we just talk about, we're just shooting the breeze. It's not anything necessarily important or even funny, but somehow we just have that humor together. And
Aw.
I think humor is hugely important. You know, there's laughter therapy exists. You can look it up online, but basically you just start saying ha and ha ha, and pretty soon you're laughing, and it's really good for our brain and our body. You know, therapy is a pretty serious place, and you know, one of the funniest things that ever happened was somebody's phone started answering the other person's question in therapy when I was with the couple, and we all just bust up laughing. And you know, there's not a lot of laughter in therapy, but I hope there's a lot of laughter in life because things are kind of weird and crazy and amazing and beautiful and hard and everything. So the more we can, especially laugh at ourselves, that can help break out of a weird pattern with another person, whether it's your friend or your coworker or anyone.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We have a couple of minutes. I would like to give everybody a chance to just talk about maybe a project that you're working on right now, or something you really want the readers to take away from your book. You know, choose whichever you want to talk about. Can we start with Ren?
Yeah. So I'm working on a bunch of other projects. Follow me on Instagram. But for How Could You, I think that one thing to take away from it is if you want it to be cozy, happily ever after, it will not be. It won't be depressing, but things don't tie up neatly in that book. And because there's always the next step that you will learn and grow from.
Thank you. How about Ingrid?
Like I said, my series is still ongoing. I'm like 200 plus episodes in, so there's 4 seasons. And I'm finishing the 4th sometime early next year, and then I'm gonna be doing a season 5. So there's still
Oh, so
more
it's a
episodes.
long journey. I'm going to find your website right away.
Yeah, you can read it
Yeah.
on WEBTOON.com.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. How about
I'm so
Chandrama?
impressed. I just want to say how impressed I am with you two, that you have these ideas and you can write and draw and really make everything feel so, wow, I'm really in this. So I'm just massively impressed. So congratulations.
Stop, I'm
Likewise.
blushing.
Chandrama, what do you
Um,
anticipate people? Do you feel a lot of people will use your books? Are you going to do school visit or like, you know, town hall with?
I'm really kind of working on, you know, marketing books is really hard, as everybody knows. I had the huge pleasure of signing books at ALA annual in the summer, and was on a couple panels at Comic-Con. But what I really want to figure out is marketing self-help, because this book is in a graphic novel format, but it's really a self-help book. And so I'm working on that. And I do have another book completely written, and my artist is on about chapter 3. And I don't know if I'm going to self-publish that book or how that's going to work. But you know, there's a lot of tools, and the more people I can help, that's really my goal.
So thank you all so much. We are out of time, and thank you for all the audience who's in here with us. And I hope you all check out their books. I think every book is so worth reading. either it's self-help or just get a laugh or just follow the characters and like figure out their complex relationships. I hope that you all enjoy the books and enjoy the panel together with us. So thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank
Thank you, Roxanne.